Welcome back to the Morehammer podcast, the best prescription for your plastic crack addiction on the internet. Your weekly podcast where we talk all things Warhammer from the past week, and it is episode 10. This week there are some new minis to look at, and we talk what Warhammer video games we'd like to see happen. We answer some of your community questions, and of course, we will end on our usual Warhammer 20 questions. I am one of your hosts, wargamingluke, but as always, joining me are my co-hosts with the most. First up, he is a dwarf, and he is digging a hole. Diggy, diggy hole, diggy, diggy hole. It's Ben, aka 90% Geek. How are you, buddy?
I am good. I finished digging my hole, actually. I should show you the pneumatic drill I've been using. I've got it just behind the camera here. Been happily burrowing away at concrete. It's all smashed up. I played some Battlefleet Gothic over this weekend. That was a kind of celebration of finally having done all the backbreaking labour. And I was very tempted to dig some of the chunks of concrete out of my skip and use them as like planetoids or asteroids or something for the boards.
You'll have to update us on our hobby updates in a moment about that
Definitely.
one. And of course, the team manager of the Whimsical Waffles, it's Simon, aka Hobby Waffle. How are we doing, Simon?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. That's got to be the most useful intro. Useful intro?
I hope it was useful. Yeah, I thought episode 10 I'd mix it up a bit. Apologise to anybody who's listening there that we probably broke your eardrums, but oh well. Hopefully it was worth it.
No, I am good, actually. Yeah, your intro threw me a little bit, but I am very well, thank you.
Just a little housekeeping before we go into our hobby updates for the week. Of course, as always, you can watch us on YouTube and listen at the same time. And of course, you can join us over on Spotify if you're not already followed us over there. So you can listen to us at the gym, if you're at work, get a sneaky listen in there. Please do jump on that and follow us there. Subscribe to us here and throw likes. And also on Spotify, leave us a nice review as well, because we've had a couple already, but that would be fantastic. And of course, please do leave comments as well on the videos and whatnot, guys. It does help a bunch. Otherwise, do join us in the Discord as well. You can find the link in the description below the video. Me and the guys are always on there in between episodes, having chats about everything around the hobby. We are always sharing our hobby updates and our games on there, as well as the rest of our community. So make sure to join us over there. We'd love to see you over there as well. Otherwise, I think we can move on to hobby updates for the week. Ben, you already kind of sort of hinted at yours, so if you want to start yours, you can go for it.
Yeah, I got a game of Battlefleet Gothic in. That's going to be a battle report, hopefully, later this week over on my channel. And I got some painting in as well. Where is he? He's wandered off. He's wandered off. So I had somewhere behind me. I started painting my classic Warhammer Quest Imperial Noble model. That's the one with the kind of Lord Flashheart pose, with the saber slung over one shoulder and an imperious sneer.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've got him started up. He's going to be a hero in my Empire army once he's finished.
Awesome. And then you say you played some Gothic over the weekend, did you?
Yeah, so that's going to be a battle report over on my channel later this week. We filmed it, my wife and I, as kind of a celebration of woohoo! We finished doing all the hard back-breaking labour in time for the deadline in our back garden. And yeah, we had a chilled out Sunday. In between cooking a Sunday roast, we played a round of Battlefleet Gothic. You'll have to watch the video to find out who won, though.
Nice. Sounds cool. And Si, what have you been up to, bud? Anything interesting?
Hobby-wise, I've finished building my gnome team now, so I've got them all assembled, got all these spare animals as well. So I've got a spare badger and a spare murder geese, or murder goose, I should say. Tree Man is undercoated and dry brush so far, and I've also been working on the little turn tokens and stuff like that as well. They're nearly finished. So hopefully, because there's a bit of a incentive to get the team finished, I'll get them painted up pretty quickly. Got a colour scheme in mind, so yeah, that's what I've been doing for the past week mainly. I haven't really done much else, just been the gnomes, to be honest. No games played, unfortunately, either. But it's been a busy old week, so that's why.
Yeah. Nice, awesome stuff.
What colour scheme are you going for on them?
I'm not giving it away just yet because I'm not 100% decided on it. But it's not one of the Six Nation countries. It's going to be something different.
Fair. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. So, and once you've started getting painted up and whatnot, you'll have to share on the Discord. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, well, I'll put them on
Jump in there and check those out.
And what have you, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So then for myself, I guess, so obviously last week we had a bit of a different way of updating people, and I didn't get to kind of share the game I had that week. So the last couple of weeks I've had 2 more games with the Seraphon, because I've now got 2,000 points pretty much painted up built. So I've been able to keep practicing before this event in May. And I think it was last week, I had a game against my friend Finn. He used his Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I haven't played against them in some time, and I forgot just how painful they are to play against, because they're so hard to get rid of. I think it's the big monstrous creatures, the Harvester maybe, or something like that. It's the one with the big bone cannons on either side. Oh god, it just sits behind like a unit of 20 or 30 Bone Reapers, like warriors, and just keeps bringing them back. It's horrific. And then when I finally realised that I just couldn't get through them after about round 2, I just absolutely pelted the Harvester with missile fire, so it was good stuff. And then this last week I had another game, and that was against Carl's beautiful Slaves to Darkness army, and I'll have to share pictures of his army at some point, because he's printed out for all of his banners like really nice images and then painted over it to actually make it look like the rest of the miniature. It's such a gorgeous army, sort of like a black orange theme he's got going on. Black and fire theme. It's all kind of like your Chaos Warriors rather than the Marauder side of it. And that was a really fun game as well this week, 2,000 points, so I managed to get a game in there as well. But otherwise, painting and building, the only thing I've done in the last couple of weeks was my Raptidons, which I shared on Discord earlier today.
Death chickens!
The Death Chickens. So I had already done the charges. The Hunters, which are the ones that come up behind them throwing their spears, they were done this week. So both units done now, so they look really cool together.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I've literally just got a 10 unit of Saurus Warriors left, and that's it. And I'll have achieved my goal, ready for the event in May. So looking back about 2 months ago when I started the journey, it's pretty mad. I've stayed to it, so I'm pretty happy with that. So look forward to it.
Pretty well with them, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty good to be fair. I've slowed down towards the end, so I'm glad I had like a peaked in the middle sort of thing, as you'd expect, really. But I suppose that takes us into Ben. What is it time for?
And now the news.
Awesome stuff. This week we do have a few mini reveals. Sunday night we had the Sunday preview, as we always do. There's some made-to-order old world models that I thought we'd bring up, because I thought you guys would find that pretty cool to look at. We've got the Orcs and Goblins, obviously. And we got some returning made-to-order models.
I think the most random is this Wyvern that they brought back, because I remember this Wyvern from the 4th edition book.
This is the old one, this, isn't it?
It is the proper old school one. I think this is like one of the oldest Wyverns models that they've done.
This is before Azhag, isn't it?
Oh, about miles before Azhag. This was, like I said, I think Azhag came out in 5th edition, or maybe they released the model at the end of 4th. But this was available.
I think it was, yeah, because I remember seeing it in early White Dwarfs, like 168, 169, or just round about then.
Well, I think the 4th edition Orc and Goblin book has a battle report in it against some dwarves, and this is the model that they filmed in the battle report. So it already was existent and painted before the 4th edition book came out. So it was probably 2nd or 3rd edition model. But of all the ones to bring back, somebody must have just gone, "How cool is this dude?" and decided to bring him back. And I'm guessing it comes with printed banners again, maybe as well, given the way that they've been doing it.
Oh yeah, looking at that, I would have thought so.
Looks cool.
Which is very cool.
I love that colour scheme as well. I know it's very OG, like Warhammer, but very cool.
Uber bright.
Yes.
It'd be interesting to see how that would stack up size-wise to come to some of the newer centerpiece models, if you know what I mean.
It's like that. Imagine putting that.
Mini Wyvern.
That's true, actually, yeah.
One interesting thing before we move on to this guy is probably that is, as far as I'm aware, the only Orc Shaman on a Wyvern model that they ever made. So the one that was re-released, that's the 6th edition one with the kind of the jutting jaw Wyvern, and the Orc with the huge battle axe, that's an Orc War Boss on a Wyvern. Azhag was an Orc War Boss on a Wyvern. The Orc War Boss they released for 8th edition, the new updated Azhag model, was an Orc War Boss on a Wyvern. That is specifically a shaman. You can see his little kind of puppet stick that he's brandishing in the air. So I think that is the only shaman on Wyvern models. If you want to take a shaman on a Wyvern, and why wouldn't you? Because we've established in the old world that sticking characters on monsters just makes the characters tougher, regardless of whether they're a combat character or not. I think that's a good buy.
Yeah, definitely. No, he's very cool. What's this then, Ben? We're looking at.
This is the Black Orc War Boss. This is my Black Orc War Boss. This is what I use in my army. I bought him when he first came out. He's a really funky model. I love the shield. The shield is my favourite part. The kind of grimacing orc face made out of just hammered sheets of iron.
I've seen a couple of these converted into 40k orcs as well.
I'm surprised he's made to order and wasn't just a re-release, to be honest, because he's really a very recent model compared to all the other kind of made to orders on this list. Oh, it's a brilliant miniature.
I was going to say the same thing, so I thought he actually looked fairly 40k because he's so heavily armoured.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of conversions online.
I suppose actually thinking about it, the reason why he may not have been a permanent release, maybe he's a made to order, is because, of course, we got the new resin Black Orc War Boss model. And maybe they didn't see the need to have two Black Orc War Boss models.
The one from the Flavour pamphlet.
Yeah, the new one.
I love his shield, though. That's cool.
He's really cool.
And then the giant.
The Marauder Giant. It's a Marauder Giant
miniature.
Yeah.
It defined an era of Warhammer, to be honest. It really is. I mean, I've already got like 3 giants, so I don't necessarily need another giant.
Yeah, but look at it.
It's such an iconic model. It really is.
It is, yeah.
I can still picture that advert in White Dwarf, the blue background with Marauder Miniatures logo and that giant.
He strikes me
in fact,
as that, like,
getting off the chair. It's only over there, that issue that it's in, but
like, Gulliver's Travels, like Gulliver the Giant. That's what it reminds me of. But it's his eyebrow. It's his one monobrow that's just got that little dip in the middle. It's such a great model design.
I can kind of imagine him with like a Bristol accent.
Yes,
pirate accent. Yeah.
But no, kind of a Jim Henson vibe to me. Kind of, you can imagine
the farmer from Lord of the Rings. Who's chasing the hobbits out of the field.
Yes,
that voice in my head.
Yeah,
from a Somerset accent. And then there's 2 batches of Stone Trolls.
These are brilliant trolls. I still love these.
Again, I'm surprised that these aren't, because Stone Trolls are a major part of the list. I know they're going to re-release the Plastic River Trolls kit, but for anyone who wants to use Stone Trolls, they're going to have to buy the Age of Sigmar ones. So I was surprised that these were made to order and weren't just a re-release. The thing that I'm finding slightly annoying is that I've got 3 Stone Trolls, and these are grouped in 2 batches of 3, which means you'll be able to made or order one group or the other group. My group of 3 Stone Trolls is 2 from one group and 1 from the other. So if I wanted to match out the ones I am missing, I would need both. Which
what a shame.
Yeah. And then I end up with 9 Stone Trolls.
Yeah, the problem is with these again, it's going to be scale wise, and that could be why they're made to order rather than
maybe.
But having said that, everything else is old miniatures and is all in the same scale, so it doesn't really matter an awful lot.
The metal Orc Bigger models they've re-released, which are gorgeous, are actually slightly smaller than the plastic Orc models. So they are bigguns that are not as big.
Scale wise, does it? I mean, if everything else was new for Old World, then it would matter, but it doesn't really in the grand scheme of things. But like you say, it is a shame they're made to order because I love these trolls. It's brilliant. It's so characterful.
Again, with like the facial features, just incredible.
They're very beautiful.
For old models, they're so good. Yeah.
Actually, these are my favourite. The River Trolls. I love the River Trolls. They are
again. I know that fantastic sculpts, aren't they?
They are. Well, I know that they've got the new plastic ones, but I don't think the plastic ones do justice to these 3. I might be tempted.
These were all hand sculpted as well, weren't they?
They were. Well, these 3 are Troll Hag, and my 3 Stone Trolls would make the beginnings of a good Troll Horde army because I'd have 6 Trolls and a Troll Hag then, and a Shaman on a Wyvern, and Wolf Rider Chariots because I love Wolf Rider Chariots.
These are the ones that I always used to see along the side of the Forge World Hag that we were talking about the other week. Yeah.
I think this is one colour scheme. I actually preferred the older way they were painted, when they were kind of bright green and they looked really just kind of cartoony but sinister at the same time.
But yeah, that is it for the made to order for this week for Old World. Some cool stuff coming back. Nice to see.
Very cool.
Yeah, there's a few Legion Imperialis bits and some books, weren't there? Well, that was
nothing too worth looking at. I might come back to the White Dwarf thing in a minute.
New Cypher's Kane book though.
Yes.
Well, it's a paperback. It's the one that's been out for a while in hardback and audio.
Yeah, but it's the paperback version, isn't it?
Indeed. But we'll swiftly move on here, first of all, to the new Prosecutor models, or model that they've shown at least anyway.
No, they've shown 3. They've shown 3 different poses of this, dude.
Yeah. So
Over
I
on
mean,
Twitter.
yes, they have actually. Yeah, but the one that they at least had in the article anyway.
Another one
gorgeous.
we said we were coming.
Yes.
Such a good revamp. I mean, this really justifies revisiting.
They're amazing. Do you not think they've got a bit of a Harryhausen vibe to them?
Yeah, with the spikes on the helmets and stuff. Yeah, the tridents.
Yeah, and the tridents. It's just.
I can't see the trident and not think Anchorman. I killed a guy with a trident. Yeah, we've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Very Clash of the Titans for me. These, I love them.
Oh
Yeah.
good call. That good call. It's the wings. The remake on the wings for me is just gorgeous. And to be fair, how they painted it though.
I'd love to see somebody
doesn't
do these in stop motion animation. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah, well, there's been some just to digress. There's been some decent stop motion stuff done with the Joy Toys stuff you can find on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They haven't actually done Joy. Unless I'm wrong, they've not done Joy Toy of Age of Sigmar yet, have they?
Not yet.
I wonder if
I
they
don't
will.
think so.
Because I mean, a Liberator. I would buy a Liberator in kind of that style. It
You
would
would
be
have
really
thought
quite cool.
maybe just after 4th edition.
Maybe we'll have to revisit that in a future episode. If it happens, we can point back to this and go, look, see, we were right.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. But no, going back to this model, the wings, I think, are the best feature of this because they were the thing I liked least about the old prosecutors. The the weird spiky wings.
There was
these look like there's some sort of arcane power soaring them aloft, doesn't it?
It looks like they're like literally wings made of magic.
Yeah. Yeah. There was somebody on our Discord earlier saying that the people will be using these wings for conversions and things and like kit bashing because they are awesome. I can see that, to be fair. But yes.
And tactical rock as well. The tactical rock instead of tactical
concrete.
Instead of Joe Smoke, they've got his lesser known brother Jim Concrete on.
Yep. No, but awesome stuff. And next week, I'm sure we'll be back to Skaven models. I think we're going to get some Giselles, to be honest.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Either that or Rat Augurs, I think.
Yeah, right. Sorry, that probably will. It's only because we had the warp block last week that I thought maybe Giselles next because that kind of links in, but we'll wait and see. Either way, I'm sure it'll be awesome.
Yeah, if you scroll down, I think the other two poses are down there, aren't they?
Yes, possibly. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, that's one with the big spear.
Yeah.
It's interesting that their faces are visible in the helms as well on these. They don't have the full face masks.
You can get the full face, though. It says in the article you can build them with both options.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of showing more of kind of the human side of Stormcast.
Yeah.
Move away from the original. Everybody had a helmet on. Everyone was just a Sigmarine from first edition Age of Sigmar. We really have kind of moved into its own kind of high fantasy realm with real kind of obviously these are living beings inside the armor, albeit
it's interesting that they show off the human side of it, but they're saying that they've now been moved to the Ruination Chamber because the reforgings are taking the toll. So they're showing the human face of things, but they're on the other side of it saying that they're losing their humanity by joining the Ruination Chamber.
I wonder if they're in the Ruination Chamber. Which ones should we shoot? Well, the ones that are flying right across there, those are easy. Skeet! Yeah. Maybe that's why all the prosecutors are in the Ruination Chamber.
But yeah, absolutely awesome models, and can't wait to see more of what's in the starter set. But I have managed to get it up.
There we go.
So the White Dwarf 500, of course, 500th issue is coming. And alongside it, you can, if you want to, get one of these loot-style boxes, which ain't going to be cheap. I think we're hearing about around £150 mark money, at least.
Especially with the display in it of that artwork that Ben really wanted.
I really, really wanted, but I can't justify 150 quid. I only want this half of the screen. I want the T-shirt with the issue 300 cover on it and the disc plate. Those are the only two bits I want.
Same for me. I mean, mostly the T-shirt. I just think the T-shirt's awesome. That for me.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, I'd quite happily pay 30 quid for the T-shirt and 30 quid for the disc plate. Or 25 for the T-shirt, 35 for the disc plate. I'd happily pay 60 quid for those two.
Yeah. It's a lovely bit of artwork.
Can't justify the rest.
No. We were saying before we started the podcast, weren't we, Ben? Hopefully they release it separately.
Hopefully. Even just like an art print.
You're going to have to hit eBay, aren't you?
Oh. Yeah, but then the scalpers will charge you 60 quid for the disc plate. You'll never get it for a reasonable price.
But we'll see. We'll wait and see. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough.
Suspect they'll just sell out within 5 minutes of going online, to be honest, because that's generally how these things go.
Yep.
Yeah. But we shall have to wait and see. But I look forward to finding out. But that is kind of like the new reveals that we wanted to kind of mostly have a chat about this week. The main topic, though, that we've kind of since almost the first episode, and I thought since it's episode 10, I would go back all the way back to the first episode when we'd mentioned the fact that we would at some point like to discuss more about Warhammer video games aside from the miniatures, because obviously that's a big thing now for Games Workshop. They're really pushing into that kind of, I wouldn't say genre, but that kind of medium with Warhammer video games. So we thought we'd put together a bit of a list of our favourite kind of ideas for Warhammer video games that we'd love to see, other than things we've already got coming, I guess.
I wouldn't say that so much that they're pushing into it, and that they are fairly well established in the video game genre.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people out there to whom Warhammer, first and foremost, means video games. And maybe they've come to miniatures as a result of having played all the video games.
I think, Total War's been a big gateway into the hobby, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Dawn of War before that.
Dawn of War, yeah.
Probably the better way to put it would have been maybe investing more in it, and in terms of like the money behind it, because the games we get nowadays, compared to if you think back in the day, the quality of some of the games, they really up the level nowadays.
It's a great way of advertising the hobby as well.
Yeah.
Second site.
I said it's a great way of advertising the hobby, because like the first Space Marine game on PS3 and Xbox 360, it was like, this is a Space Marine, but this is what it can do. Kill, kill, kill.
Like, literally, this is what would actually... Like, I mean, like the bolt gun game, where people have kind of gone, if the bolt gun game, which plays like a Space Marine, is really able to do, which just kills basically everything that's put in front of it.
But, so that being said, we were going to kind of chat about upcoming Warhammer games as well, but there isn't much. I think literally the only main titles that have been announced are Space Marine 2, which we've already seen a good bit on, and I believe Speed Freaks
in a couple of weeks
works.
We'll be talking about that, if not next week, because the tour in America at the minute doing game demos, so there's already some information started to drop. At the minute, there's not quite enough for me to do a full video, but I've started collecting the stuff. So I think there'll be more Space Marine 2 news very soon.
And I think the only other big title I saw that's been announced technically is Speed Freaks, which is kind of like your old kind of that based on the original actual box game, and it'll kind of, I don't know whether it's going to be like a Mario Karting kind of game. I haven't looked enough into it, or if it's going to be just like God knows. We'll
mention that in a minute.
Yeah, but in terms of what we'd like to see, we're going to list it off. So listen up, Games Workshop, because here we're going to rattle off a ton of ideas for you. And what I thought we'd do is, at bare minimum, I'd say we'll go through each of us and at least list 2 main ones each, and then kind of just rapid fire from there any other ideas that we have on top of that, because I've got a fair few, but I will go last because I've listed a fair number, so if any of you guys cross over with me, I can just throw in other ones. But Sai, did you want to go first maybe on this one? Your first two, since Ben went first on hobbies.
Well, one of them that's not one of my 2, but funnily you just mentioned it, is just before we started recording, I mentioned this to my wife about video games, and she just went, Mario Kart but with orcs. And I went, yeah, that could work. And she goes, you could throw Gretchen at people and squigs, like squig bombs and stuff,
squig launchers
instead of shells.
So yeah, that could be one. No, so the first one of my 2 would be, I think we have spoke about this before on the podcast, it's something like Star Wars Battlefront 2 that DICE did, but set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. And instead of just Empire and Rebels, you could have Space Marines, maybe Guard, Eldar, and Orcs, just as 4 factions. They could maybe, if they wanted to, add Tau or something like that. So then you got your basic troopers. You could have a Space Marine, an Assault Marine, a Devastator, and maybe maybe not a Captain, but something along them lines, or a Scout. They would be your 4 classes in Battlefront that you've got now. And then, when you get enough points and you can get an elite, you could... All right, yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, I know.
So your elites like could be like...
Like you got the Jedi, or you got the...
Blade Guard Veteran, or you pick a Terminator, and then when you get enough for the hero, you pick up the hero icon. If it was like Battlefield 1, you then get a Captain or a Dreadnought or something like that. So that would be my first one. A game where it's just respawning and tons of action. Don't even have to have a single-player campaign. It could just be that spawn-style battle game. So... if they could reskin Battlefront 2, to be honest, with the 40k, that would be a dream game.
Adding to that, I always loved the Conquest map thing that they had on the original Battlefront as well. That would work perfectly as well. That'd be
I
cool.
Well,
think
yeah,
Battle-
Battlefront 2, towards the end of its life, it started seeing a massive resurgence in players again because they added the supremacy mode where it's loads of AI opponents, but you can play against that. So if you wanted to play a single player but still have that multiplayer
It's
experience, you could do that. It was brilliant. And I think that gave the game a little bit of extra life, if you like. My second one would be some sort of open world Bethesda style game. So maybe like Starfield or Fallout,
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say.
set. I was actually going to say the Warhammer 40,000 universe, but I think that's too big of a playground to
You could set
be
it
in.
still within a section of it.
Well, yeah, you
Number of
could do,
planets,
but
solar
then
system.
it's what do you pick? What section do you pick?
Mm.
So I think for
Necromunda.
me, well, yeah.
Imagine the Fallout style game, but set. This was what I was going to suggest.
That's true.
Fallout
Well,
style
we'll
game
let you have that one then.
on
So I was gonna-
Necromunda.
In the
yeah,
Ash
so
Wastes.
a Bethesda style game, but maybe in the old world, and maybe not at the time of the old world, but the time of fantasy before it died. So the world that was, that'd just be incredible. You could start off, pick a class or just pick a race, and then it's an open world game. Obviously, there's a plot, and it all leads to the same point, even if you're different characters and what have you. And I'm sure it could be done if there was enough resource and enough interest. But yeah, some sort of open world game where there is missions to do if you want, but a million side quests to do, and you can explore pretty much all of the old world. That'd just be amazing. And then
Scrolls-esque.
just to round it off, I do have one comedy style suggestion, which I think Ben might appreciate. So if you remember Lemmings for the Amiga,
Yes.
but Leagues of Votan digging holes, and you've got different styles.
Diggity dig dig.
Told you.
Yeah.
And you got different styles of Leagues of Votan troopers, as the blockers and the diggers and the
Yeah.
instead of parachutes, it's the jetpack guys, the Hurricane guys with the jetpack.
Awesome. Oh, you could. Well, in Lemmings 2, you had things like Super Lemming, which you could have him fly around like a jetpack.
Yeah, exactly. And you could have the Ironkin and stuff like that, blasting big holes and things.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, Lemmings, but Leagues of
Sold.
Votan.
A Votan themed Lemmings game, absolutely sold.
Games Workshop, please make that happen. You could play
Even
that on
Games
mobile.
Workshop, just somebody out there who's got the coding skills.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it could be a mobile game. It'd be great.
I was going to say that, yeah. You could
I would
easily do it on
happily play that.
Straight after this podcast, I'm going to Google how to make an app.
mobile. Hire me, Games Workshop.
Yeah, but anyway, that would be my two and my comedy one.
That's very cool.
Awesome. They're good suggestions. I think Battlefront, because we discussed that in the first episode, which is what led to this, really. I think that would be on top of all three of our
Yeah,
lists.
I'll
to
be
It's
be fair.
almost a shame they have. I can't understand why they haven't done that yet. I mean, Battlefront is probably one of the most popular Star Wars games of its era, and it's just such a kind of plug in and play. You don't have to be massively invested in it. You can play the Conquest map, or you can just go. I just want to play running around shooting stuff for a
It's
while, and
the-
maybe
Yeah,
drive an
what's awesome
88.
about it as well. If you've only got an hour before you go to bed, or not even that, you just think, I'll just have a quick blast on Battlefront.
That's
You
it.
don't
But
have to
imagine if you
invest
go
Massive
I'm-
time in the game.
running around as a space marine, and now I have hopped in this land speeder and I'm zooming around the board, shooting stuff. And now I've hopped into a land raider and I'm running around freeming things with las cannons.
It's the
Yeah,
dream.
awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
But Ben,
Yeah.
tell us yours.
Okay, well, so my two didn't actually include. I'd thought about the whole idea
No,
of
no,
the
I know, yeah.
Fallout style Necromunda thing. My thought was, because I've just recently watched the Fallout series on Amazon. It's awesome. If you haven't watched it, definitely give it a watch.
Not
But
yet.
I've just started another playthrough of Fallout 4 to remind me of everything, so then I can watch
Ooh.
the TV show.
Okay. I've only actually played the original Fallout. I haven't played the ones after. So I played the really kind of old one
Yeah,
that you play on the MS-DOS version. That's how old my game. I'm afraid that's where a lot of my gaming goes to. It's equally as old school. It's like, I think the last console that I bought was an Xbox, not an Xbox 360, an Xbox. My wife's got a Switch and we play things like Overcooked and stuff on it, and like Animal Crossing. But anyway, the games that I would pitch are, I have played a lot, and I mean a lot, of Civilization over the years.
Hey.
Like there have been back when before I had responsibilities when I was a student, there were nights where I would go, I was just going to play an hour on Civilization, and then the sun is coming up.
Then it's
And I'm
4
like,
a.m.
oh
yeah.
my god, I've got.
I
to go to
very
the
nearly went
hours
for
of
this
your life.
option. I'm glad you did, Kat. I nearly went for this.
So Civilization, old world. I just take my money. If I could go, okay, which of the following armies do you want to play? Do you want to play as a dwarf hold? Do you want to play as the High Elves? Do you want to play as the Empire, the Bretonnians? Do you want to play as the Skaven or the Arab, the Tomb Kings? but you have a starting city and some starting units that match, and then you develop the themed units, the more generic units as well. Like, Clan Rats is pretty much going to be the same as like Empire Swordsmen, but you can equally develop Rat Ogres while the Empire are over there developing, Rights Guard Knights and steam tanks. You have to build your civilization outwards from it. You can build it from its starting point. You can do it on a randomized map, but let's have a civilization themed old world game.
All the way through to
Take my money.
Literally.
Take my money.
You could do it all the way through, couldn't you? There's like a time frame now for the old world, so it's perfect.
Well, you can have different settings on it. So, I mean, one of the things that annoyed me the most in Civilization, way back when Civ 2 came out, I bought an expansion pack that had a whole bunch of different options on it. And the one that I was really excited was it had an Atlantis option where you could play as Atlantis. And I swear, if I ever find the person who coded that, I'm going to punch them in the face. Because the Atlantis pack, you get Atlantis, and you get incredible high-tech, for the time, to units like Nautilus submarines and high-tech Atlantean guard with death rays. And 10 turns into the game, your island sinks beneath the sea, and that's it. You get 10 turns, and then your civilization, unless you have, in that time, managed to build a settler unit and get to like a land mass and established a new settlement, and then survive long enough not to be killed by everything else, that's it. It's probably extremely, true to life as to how the myth of Atlantis went. But I swear, I nearly threw the disc out the window. I was so mad when I played it. You can
easily lose hours of your life on them games. It's crazy.
But yeah, no, so you could have settings. You could have, like, you would just start. When do you want to start play? Do you want to start play at the birth of Sigmar? Do you want to start play at, the time of the old ones? Do you want to start play and play through until, one civilization is dominant? Do you want to set the victory condition as play until the end times? And you've got until the end times to build your civilization up enough to hold back the tides of chaos. It's just so many options. I would love to see a game like that.
Yep. And another one?
Number 2. Okay, so I'm a big fan of kind of fantasy, kind of role-play type games. I played a lot of Legend of Zelda as a kid. I love like Ocarina of Time, and in particular, the Fable games.
Shelf there.
Yeah, has he got it over there on the shelf?
All the old Zelda games are up there.
They're so good.
Game shelf.
But yeah, so I like the Fable games as well, because they were a lot of fun. Fable and Fable 2. I hadn't played Fable 3, but I love the idea of having something like that, again, set in the old world, where you can pick a character and then you can choose the path that you take. Will you become, a noble, Templar of Sigmar, or will you become, a corrupted marauder of chaos? Will you become a mage? How will you choose your destiny? Give me the old world as a sandbox to play in, and let me just go through it.
Almost like what we've just had with, like, the sensation with Baldur's Gate, that sort of thing, or like
maybe,
yeah.
You're talking about consoles that I haven't played, so I don't know.
Well, it's basically D&D, but on like playable on computer, full graphics, everything is the best way I can explain it.
Okay.
So from what you've just described, I imagine that would be pretty perfect, probably.
I'd probably quite happily play that.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to get myself a more up-to-date console. The last game I bought was Shooters, Guns and Teeth, so I could just run around as an orc going, and shooting stuff on the Switch, because that's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, aside from like all the card games they usually release endlessly for Warhammer games, you only usually get a couple of main ones a year anyway, to be fair. So, yeah.
And we already had, the Mechanic and Pressure Washer game, so, it's going to be hard to beat that.
Nothing can follow that now.
But what's your pitch, Luke?
Well, it's not one of my picks, but funnily enough, I said to Cy before we started about the Civ Rev idea, Civilization Revolution, and what I actually said was for a hive, like Hive City, imagine that for like a whole Civ Rev situation. You could have the Underhive as well.
Yeah, or you could have a Forge World as well.
That would be cool.
That could be pretty cool, just to add on to what you were saying before, but... my main 2 that I can kind of say then, I guess, the first one that I thought of, and you'll have seen it on the thumbnail, guys, already anyway. I thought it was great to add to it. The idea is a Primarch fighter game. So all of the Primarchs from Horus Heresy, obviously, usually with fighter games, you have evil and good, so it's perfect. You have chaos, you have good. You can have all of the Primarchs on either side. I mean, how many are there on either side? Like,
9.
Oh, 9.
So
9
Yeah.
inside. Exactly.
So, you know, perfect. Pick your character, throw it down. I was saying to Cy before we started, I think probably edging more towards Mortal Kombat style because it's
Finish
dark.
him.
You want that kind of like more kind of bloody
Yeah.
effects probably, but I'd probably have it somewhere in between maybe.
Street Fighter
So-
2 is the best side-scrolling beat-em-up game ever, and I will fight anyone who disagrees with me on that one.
Street fight them. But yeah,
That's great.
So I'd probably have it somewhere in between, I reckon.
Okay.
Because I think seeing Primarchs get as aggressive as Mortal Kombat does wouldn't quite look right, I don't think. But if you had it somewhere in between, because the Mortal Kombat finishes are just epic. So,
I mean, Conrad Kerr's Mortal Kombat finish wouldn't even be like screenable. The screen would just go black with a
That's true.
censored box on it.
or you could even have like an option to turn on and off like that amount of gore or something, I guess, if you really wanted to. Could be pretty cool.
Brief digression. Pick 3 Primarchs. What would their finishing moves be?
Oh,
I know Lehman Russ is already.
Okay, what's Lehman Russ's?
Lift you up and break your back over his knee like he did to Magnus.
Bane. That would be very cool.
Fulgrim. You were saying about Conrad though, as I was thinking like Angrons would just pure be blood everywhere, surely. Like
Just
thing
red
nails
to
or
the heart.
something. What's it called?
Conrad would be just like
Butcher's nails.
Butcher's
stabby
nails.
with lightning claws, I reckon.
No, surely that would be so
Lehman
Korax
Russ.
would be
Could be
stabby,
Korax,
stabby,
yeah,
stabby
yeah.
with the lightning claws, but Korax would be like disappear in a bamf of shadow and reappear behind the person.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So you
shiv
could have
them with the
Conrad
lightning
Curse.
claws.
So instead of like E Honda on Street Fighter where he's doing the massive hand slap, you could do it with the lightning claws.
Fulgrim's could be just decapitation, Ferris Manus style. Like anybody who
Yeah.
finishes, it's just pulls out the layer and blade, decapitates, and holds up the severed head. That would be very cool.
And you could, because like most fighting games have like kind of an arcade style campaign run through where you'd probably have to face all of the Primarchs. You'd have a good campaign and an evil campaign for like a few hours for each, and then you could have like even at the end of the evil campaign, you could even have like the Emperor at the end. He's not a playable character, but you can fight him at the end.
Or if you were doing the campaign mode before you fight the Primarchs, you've got to defeat, like, if you're playing on the good side, you've got to defeat Abaddon and defeat, like, I don't know, Lucius the Eternal or someone
That
like
would
that.
be cool. Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
of
that's
the
good.
Legion captains first, you've got to defeat.
Every Legion pretty much has got a sub character that you could have as kind of an alternative player. So you have
Yeah, if you're
Khan,
playing as the
World
baddies, you have to
Eaters.
defeat Sigismund or something
Yeah.
like that.
And who else do you have? But what's the guy? We had about the thing last week. The Iron Hands dude, Shadrach Meduson. You have Shadrach Meduson for the Iron Hands. Would be really cool.
You could even call in like a bot or something to like shoot somebody to bits or something, just like some sort of mechanized thing to come in and help him, I don't know.
I want Gulliman's finishing move would just be to step back and let his Legion come past and do the job for him. Either
Yeah,
that
you
or
could
just pull
have
up a spreadsheet and lecture them.
Corswain for the Dark Angels, he could be one of like the sub characters you got to beat.
That would be cool.
He'd be hard as nails.
But yeah, there's that for me. That's just one of the top ones I'd want to see. That's just pure gold for me.
Yeah. I would want a mod now. I'm now imagining. Imagine if there was a mod where you could have the Primarchs versus Street Fighter characters.
And then
I
instead
want
of-
to see
you
like Lehman Russ versus M Bison. That would be so cool.
Yeah, and then the bonus stage, instead of smashing the car up, you got to smash the Rhino up.
Yes. And then there's a little like that's mechanics guy who's pressure washing it before you start smashing it up.
Well, Capcom have done tons of crossover games already, so
They have.
you know.
Capcom,
Give 'em a
can we
call,
have a
GW.
Games Workshop one, please?
But my second one, I've got a few on here that you guys have sort of already covered. So luckily, I've got one other that I can kind of bring in. Does anybody remember Tom Clancy's Hawks games? So like flyers, so not
Yes.
flying
Oh, yeah.
simulator games, but kind of like flight-based games.
Did it have the yellow helmet on the front of the
Yes,
packet?
one of them did. I think one of the more recent ones did. But yeah, effectively like not flight simulator, but that kind of flight action game where you can either be in the cockpit or third person. Pick any race, like any kind of ship that you wanted. Again, you could have like a mini campaign for each race, flying their ships. So even like Necrons, you could have like the night sides and awesome stuff like that. Be pretty sweet.
So kind of like Ace Combat as well, like the Ace Combat series.
Yeah,
on
like a
PlayStation.
dogfighting game. So like you can either just have like an arcade mode where you dogfight each other split screen or online.
It's almost like the X-Wing or the TIE Fighter games that were released in days gone by.
Yeah.
Star Fox for the N64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're talking my language.
You could even
That's all
do
it
like like winged Tyranid monstrous creatures and stuff, you could fly with them technically
That would
and
be
use
cool.
them, you know. So just another fun
Orc
little
fighter
idea.
bombers, just orcs zooming around
Yeah.
the place going, ah! And you can have an orc move, which again, if you've read the Death Squadron graphic novel, which is if you fly too close to the other orc plane, the orc leaps out of it and like physically attacks your plane.
I've
Well,
just thought of another one as well, another game. So have you
Oh, go
finished,
on.
Luke? Have you got another
I
one?
was just going to say quickly before you go on to that, because Aeronautica, in Aeronautica with the orc bombers, you can actually like pop out the squig mines and they like fly over randomly in random directions to hit other planes. It's wicked.
That's
So I
cool.
can see that. Yeah.
And grot bombs as well, the little kind of piloted grot bombs.
Yeah, it's from the Orc
So,
Mega
yeah.
Bomber, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I was on about. Sorry, it's the like the actual
bombs.
mini bombers. Yeah, they're great.
Which they used to have in 40k. You used to actually have, you could have like essentially grot bombs that could be launched from on high, then you'd pilot them down. What were you going to suggest, Si?
Well, I can't see Traveller's Tales going for this, but Lego, the Horus Heresy.
Yes.
So-
Sold. You got to
So
like
you got
build
Lego Star
dimensional
Wars,
spirits.
Lego the Hobbit, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean. They've got all the Disney ones now. I mean, my son's got most of them. Lego the Horus Heresy. You just imagine little Lego versions of the Primarchs and the Space Marines.
And then
Oh,
you've got like
Studs for the Stud God.
you've got a really sad post-credit scene where you're helping the Emperor build his throne.
Yeah, you've got to
In
build
Lego.
it.
I'm thinking the thing is there have been a lot of people who've done like videos doing like models of Legos miniatures, so it's not beyond the realms of possibility. There has been a
It's
lot
only a
of
matter of
standing
time. I'm telling you.
connection between Lego and Warhammer.
Yeah.
Lego ideas is brilliant because there's so many things come into Lego from the ideas side of the hobby. So
The only other thing that just popped into my mind when you said Telltale games, do all like the more like role-playing games. I don't know if you've ever played any of them. They did the
no, sorry,
Walking
not
Dead one
Telltale.
on-
Traveller's Tales. who do the
Traveller's
Lego.
Tales, okay.
Yeah.
That reminded me of Telltale games.
Telltale
they
games,
do like The Walking Dead and all those, and you basically play through like scenes and you choose what happens, and that affects what happens next.
Yeah, that's right.
They've got a lot of
They
fun
did a Back
games
to the
that they've
Future one
done.
as well, didn't they?
Say again.
Telltale, didn't they do a Back to the Future game as well?
I think they've done quite a lot now. I think maybe they have, yeah.
That does remind me, and this is me showing my gaming heritage here, but imagine if there was like a Warhammer version of Monkey Island.
I knew you was going to say that.
Like the old school point and click and move and tap adventures.
Captain Guybrush Threepwood of the Monkey
Yes.
Legion.
And LeChuck's treasure. But again, so imagine
My
that,
favorite game ever, Monkey
not
Island.
that specific setting, but that style of game. There's got to be. Imagine if you were like a Commissar Caiaphas Cain, the video game, and you walk around chatting to people. You've got options that you can click on what you're going to say next. It would be
Fantastic.
brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah, the old LucasArts point.
You get captured by a Dark Eldar homunculus, and one of your options is, I don't suppose there's any chance of a cup of Tanner, is there?
They're still kind of making.
You got beat
them,
him
I
with
mean,
insults.
I know they-
Jurgen the Melter.
But yeah. We'll cut it off there because to be honest, we could
Go
keep putting
forever.
up ideas for hours. To be fair, but some really good ones there. And please do, guys, get involved in the comments. I'm really
Yeah,
interested
let us
to
know
see
in the
what
comments what you think.
what ideas people come up with, because I'm sure there are some amazing ones you guys can throw down there. So please let us know yours. But we'll go into, we've got a couple of community questions to answer this week, so we'll rattle off those. The first of which, a couple of weeks back, after we had Rick on from Pointy Paints, he left us a community question to answer, so I thought we would throw it into this week's episode. He says, does competitive play and the focus on it affect how narrative play is handled in all of GW's systems? An interesting one. I know Rick's quite a big competitive player, so I think but he knows we're more narrative, so I think it's quite a cool thing for him to throw into us to kind of get our thoughts on it. I'll leave it to the floor, guys. What are your kind of thoughts on how it affects it? I mean, for me, my main thought is mostly balance, really, is the main thing in terms of when I've created campaigns on my old channel, like made my own campaigns, usually match play. It helps me kind of balance the campaign, if that makes sense, both points wise and so I know what to throw down in my in my scenarios and things.
So could you just read Rick's question again for me, please?
So, does competitive play and the focus on it affect how narrative play is handled in all of Games Workshop's systems?
Yeah. So when you read that, I thought the question was asking like, do you think Games Workshop designed their competitive play rules?
Yeah, yeah.
Design rules more with competitive play in mind rather than narrative play, if you know what I mean. That's what
Okay,
I
yeah.
thought. That's what
So
I was getting from the question.
you could
So,
definitely answer it as that as well, to be fair.
well, yeah, I'll go with that because I don't have an awful lot to say on the
Yeah, yeah.
competitive side of things. I do think there is more of a lean towards competitive play in mind when they create the rules rather than narrative play or just like your average gamers at home who want to just play casually or forge a narrative at home and make their own campaigns. I think it's much in the same way as a lot of video games now. It's even though they say it's for the casual gamer, I'll use Call of Duty as a bad example, but nowadays, the last few years of Call of Duty, it seems to be aimed at more pleasing the YouTubers and the big players, if you like, rather than just the people who want to get home from work and have a game of it and what have you, because they don't listen to that type of person. They don't offer the feedback as much. And I don't think it's as bad for our hobby, but I do think there's more of a focus on competitive rather than narrative. I don't know what the percentage swing is. I have no idea, but I
Quite
think they are
heavily
more focused on
narrative, I would
tournament
say.
play.
Mm.
But yeah,
I would
that's my
agree with Sai. I would say that whether or not it's true that the studio is more focused on it, that it is more visible that there is an interest in making things work for the matched play scene. So I think the regular balance updates, the regular repointsing and FAQs to try and make
Better
sure
watch
that
and
every
stuff
year
like
the
that.
Better Watch stuff, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
It's more of a focus. That being said, when I thought about this question, I thought, well, hang on a minute. But let's look at all the narrative stuff that Games Workshop do. They regularly roll out, for Age of Sigmar, for example, the Seasons of War. And that isn't just about making, new stuff for the tournament scene to use. That is about creating new narrative. There are regular kind of updates on the Warhammer community site providing new strands of narrative or new narrative ways to play or new narrative scenarios. And to be honest, there's actually a whole chunk of most of the major rule books that is focused towards narrative play. Crusade for 40k, the Path to Glory approach that they've had in Age of Sigmar. Yeah. They've really tried to make sure that narrative is included in the hobby. So I agree.
Actually, that's why I said I think it leans towards it rather than it's focused on one way or the other.
I think that the competitive scene is perhaps just slightly noisier than the narrative scene.
That's probably a better way of putting it than I did.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
It's more obvious when there is a focus on the competitive scene than necessarily that there is more sway one way or the other between the two. Because I genuinely went in this with the attitude of, okay, yeah, I accept Rick's premise that, yeah, there is more focus on competitive play than narrative. What effect has that had on narrative? And then when I rethought about it, I was like, well, actually, what effect has narrative had on the competitive play scene? What effect does having the new Seasons of War every year have on the tournament scene? Because it means that you can't just write... in days gone by, back in the dark old days of 4th and 5th edition 40k, I had an opponent who basically bought a Necron army. Someone had painted it for him. They'd written the army list for him. They'd written him a booklet, 10-page tactical booklet on how to use the army they had designed for him. And he would turn up to every event, every week at the gaming club with this army. It was really annoying because he never played it any different. Because he didn't know how to play. He wasn't particularly tactically gifted. He had a lot of money and decided to just buy the hobby. And you can't do that now. Like, if he did that now, he would be massively left behind by the evolving meta. But that evolving meta is shaped by the narrative scene.
Yeah, can't disagree. I think they do personally make more stuff for narrative than they do competitive. I just think that people talk, like you say, the noisier people, YouTubers, people just chatting in general, are competitive play. Like, narrative play people don't tend to raise their voice on anything because that's the kind of mild-tempered people we probably are. There's no reason to raise any kind of, anything on the subject for narrative. You're given what you get, and even if you're not completely happy with it, if you're a narrative player, you can turn it into something that you enjoy, whereas competitive, it has to be regimented, and you have to follow exactly the rule of what's put down by Games Workshop. You have to follow that. So I think that's why they have to listen a lot more to what's being said by the overlords, if you like.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But interesting question, Rick. Yeah, it was a good kind of discussion to kind of come into it, and I'm glad you brought up that side because I kind of almost misread it a little bit myself, to be fair. So, nice one on that one. But second question that we have from Esbarnet82. Thanks, dude. By the way, he sends in, bless him, a good, solid question most weeks for us to use. So, and really good ones as well. So here's one for this week. Has there been a model, kit, or squad, etc., that you owned for a long period of time, but were scared to start it? That act of putting paint to plastic. If so, what was the kit and what made you so reticent to start it? I'm quite happy to just literally put down one word: Harlequins.
Okay.
And that's
no,
me
I
done.
can totally understand that.
Yeah. And we used to, like I say, we used to do battle reports on the channel. We picked up a kill team of Harlequins. I think it took me some time before I got around to do any painting any of it. I built it, but I don't think there's ever been anything aside from maybe really old metal models back in the day that I struggled to build. But painting wise, Harlequins for sure. Just one of those set of models that you look at and you just like, how on earth am I meant to, to cut all like the divides of the hexagons and everything with the different individual colors on it. Oh my god, no! I don't even know if I'd want to attempt it now. I probably would more so nowadays, but yeah, I still would find it tough. But yeah, who wants to go next?
Go on, Ben.
So I don't have a model that I own that I'm kind of intimidated about painting, but there have been models that I have been not so much put off buying, but I've had second thoughts about buying because I've kind of looked at it and gone, I'm not sure I could do that model justice. And I mean, as an example, I've got one Horus Heresy Primarch. I've got the Primarch Horus. He took me about 2 months to paint. It's probably one of the models that I'm most happy with my paint job on. But I look at some of the other Horus Heresy Primarchs and I just kind of go, I'm not sure that I could do that again. Like, I mean, I looked at the Horus Ascended model and kind of went, it took me 2 months to get the previous Horus to the stage that I liked him at. I'm not sure that I want to buy a second Horus and do, because either I would have to do the same amount of work again to get a model that was slightly different to the first one, but also if it didn't come out as good as the first, I'd be disappointed in myself. So I think there have been times that I've been put off buying a model just because it's looked like, I'll give you another example. I mentioned the Ossiarch Bone Reapers earlier. That really cool kind of command Ossiarch Bone Reaper dude with his kind of whole palanquin full of crew. I love the model. I think it looks really cool. I'm not sure I'd ever buy it because it looks quite intimidating to paint. And likewise, the Slanesh guy with that whole kind of cavalcade of stuff. The Sisters of Battle, the Triumph of St. Catherine. Gorgeous model. I'm not sure I've got the stones to buy and paint it. Maybe that's a challenge I'll have to set myself when I get my Sisters Army done. I forgot to include that in the list of projects when we were talking projects last week. The Sisters Army I started last year and haven't finished. Maybe I'll do the Triumph of St. Catherine at the end and I'll challenge myself to be brave.
Primarchs was a good shout though. Some tough Primarchs to probably paint, and I think I'd struggle there as well if I was to pick one up. But Sai, any ideas? Anything you've had in the past that you've thought to set that with?
Well, I mean, I said on Discord when he asked this, I said, what a great question. For me, what models are you intimidated by? Everything. That's my biggest problem is paint fear. This whole trust the process thing, I really, really struggle with it. I get halfway through a model and I look at it and I think, that just looks god awful. And I know that if I carry on, it's going to look good. And like me, Sons of Velmorn for Warhammer Underworlds, I'm really proud of the paint job I did on those. And I've probably some of the best miniatures I've painted in a long while. But during the time I was painting them, I didn't think I was going to be able to do them justice. And I almost quit halfway through. It's one of my biggest problems with painting. I get a paint block sometimes because I get a fear that I'm not going to be able to do a good enough job. And I don't know why, because at the end of the day, the only person I want to impress is myself with my painting. I'm not really bothered what anyone else thinks. I just want to paint them and use them, really. So yeah, it's a big deal for me, that really. But in terms of models that I'm intimidated by, I don't think there's anything that I'm actually intimidated by as a single model. But Ripper Jackson is one that I daren't open and do. And it's not because I don't want to paint it. It's because I'm I think I'm holding out hope there's going to be more Katachan plastics. And when I see that day happen, that's when I want to rip that box open, if you forgive the pun, and Ripper Jackson will come out and get painted.
Pull the cord.
And the only other one is I've got a Tau KV, is it 128 Storm Surge?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I've got that in sub-assemblies, undercoated, and that's as far as it went. I've magnetized the main gun, so I can use either of the two, the rail gun and the pulse cannon. There's like one's like a shotgun version, isn't it? And then
one's like a mass driver type thing, and the other one's
that's right. Yeah, so I've sorted that, but yeah, I've just never painted it. It's been sat in sub assemblies for probably 5-6 years now, if not longer.
I'd probably say though. I'd
Tau army.
Pardon?
Have you painted the rest of a Tau army? Is it like the last one?
I've got the start collecting Tau box sat in a box on the sprues. I started building the crisis battle suits. So I built the bodies of those. And I was halfway through a magnetizing video for the weapons, and I've got onto something else. Just got sidetracked again by something shiny that got released on Warhammer Community. I was like, "Oh, something new!" So yeah, it's another one of the whip projects.
I'd probably say 70% of people into the hobby are the same. Like just half-started projects, or like not wanting to finish things because, like you say, you're getting halfway through it. You kind of
I get distracted by all the new things. Yeah.
So,
what I found is, especially if you've got a crisis suit that's part done, I find if I paint one model for an army, like if there's something that I'm like, I'm not sure about that, I'll go away and I'll pick one model, just paint one basic model for the army, and if I'm happy with that, how that comes out, it makes me feel braver about painting the other stuff.
I did that with the Sons of Velmorn. I painted one skeleton, and I forced myself through the halfway point where I didn't like it, finished it and thought, oh wow, I really like that, and then I did the rest of them in one weekend. Because
I'm not sure I've seen that. Can you put on the Discord after this so everyone else can see them?
I'll pop them on Discord. Yeah, they're on my Instagram, but I'll chuck them on Discord straight after this. Yeah,
cool.
But main topic we'll definitely bring up one week is each of our painting styles and how we each work through things, because that'll be interesting.
That's a very cool idea.
Yeah. For sure. But thanks for the questions that you've both thrown in this week, guys. Please do jump into our Discord or email me, wargamingluke@gmail.com. Leave comments down below the video. Let us know if you want to leave us questions for every week, because it'd be nice to have some new people drop in topics, questions, ideas for new episodes every week to discuss. That'd be awesome. But I think that leads us into the legendary Warhammer 20 questions for this week.
Can we be undefeated 10 times in a row?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, God, now that you've said that, yeah, putting it in Warhammer 20 questions terms. The 10th game. The 10th game. But this week, we've got Jose Barrientos from Isbo, Finland, who sent in an email to me, says, really enjoying the podcast. And has sent in 2 options to choose from, one easy, one hard. Well, I say hard, but I picked the hard one, obviously. Yeah, guys, you know the rules. For any of the new viewers or listeners, though, Warhammer 20 questions, viewers, yourselves out there, send in suggestions for us. A unit or character from the world of Warhammer, can be any system in the lore, have a model, no model, whatever. And the guys have to ask me yes or no questions. They get 19 questions. The 20th has to be their guess. And I think that's pretty much all you need to know, guys. So without further ado, let the questioning begin. Dun dun dun.
You are in the top square, Si, so you get to go first.
Okay. I want to mix it up this time because I know I always ask the same question first. So, does this particular model or unit have a miniature?
No.
Ooh, okay. Do they reside, I'll ask your question, in the 41st millennium?
No.
Do they reside in the 31st millennium?
No, they don't. That's 3.
Do they reside in the mortal realms?
No, they don't. That's 4.
No, that's fine. We pretty much know probably it's either like Blood Bowl or Warhammer Old World then.
Do they reside in the old world or the world that was?
Yes. That's 5 questions, guys.
So an old world character that doesn't have a model. Are they human?
No.
Okay.
6.
Are they green skin?
No, that's 7.
Are they an elf?
No.
Okay.
Are they undead?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Undead character that does not have a model. Can I just clarify? When you said doesn't have a model, has never had a model.
You just talking
Yeah,
about
don't
right
worry. I've researched it. It definitely doesn't have a model.
And has never had a model.
Never had a model.
Okay. So we can rule out any of the major named characters like Heinrich Kemmler, Krell, Vlad von Karstein, Manfred von Karstein, Isabella, Conrad, Nagash, Arkan the Black, etc. But there's still a whole host of other undead characters, which it could
not
be.
my strong suit, undead as
No,
well.
I do know my undead lore, but also we're saying characters. I'm assuming character, given that if it was a unit, units are more likely to have a model, whereas a character maybe not. So let's try narrowing it down to what flavor of undead. How many questions have we had, Luke?
You're on question 10 now, so you're about to ask question 10.
Are they?
Yeah, it's quickly going.
Are they a vampire?
Yes, that's 10.
Okay, so vampire characters that have never had a model. Off the top of my head, it's not going to be any of the von Karsteins because they've had models, unless we're going really esoteric and we're going for one of the characters from a Black Library novel. So maybe establish if they've been in a Black Library novel. So
I'm just about to ask that. Yeah, have they been... Nurgle. Have they been... For anyone listening, he's just sneezed, but he covered it up quite well.
Sneezed into his clothing as well.
Yeah.
Try not to make a sound on
I'm sorry, I'm just
Get a handkerchief, man.
have they been in a Black Library novel or publication of some sort?
Yes. That's 11.
Okay. Right. Okay. That still leaves a whole host of characters. So off the top of my head, there's Ashuran the Ghoul King, Abarash, Varnesh. I'm just going to start saying names when I think I'm allowed. There's the characters from the von Karstein trilogy who didn't have models, such as God, I can't think of his name. I have to bring up my notes. I've got. Is it behind me? No, it's on the shelf in there. Maybe if we narrow down what bloodline they are from, that will help us identify it. So
it better not be that vampire from the ship on blooming Dreadfleet.
Oh God! Well, that would be a von Karstein. So let me try and narrow down what bloodline they're from.
Something like that.
If it's a Black Library novel, there are a limited number, but they have mostly all featured. Because there was the Masters of Undeath series, which had the Necrarch and the Strigoi have both been in novels. The Red Dukes from the Blood Dragon bloodline. Can't be Ulrika because although she had 2 novels and appearances in
male or female, ask.
That's a good question, actually. Are they male?
No, it's 12.
Ooh, okay. So it's a female vampire, right? It can't be Ulrika because she actually did have a model.
Neferatum.
Neferata had a model. The Neferata had a model. Neferata had a model
okay.
at the end of 5th edition. She came with a cat. She had literally the little black cat model that you could put next to other units and they would get bad luck, which was quite cool. So it's not Neferata. And actually, there are a very, very limited number of female vampires in the Black Library novels. So we're assuming female probably means Larmian. I have an idea. Okay, let's try this. Have they appeared in a Gotrek and Felix novel?
Not to my knowledge, I don't think they have, no.
Okay, so that means it is not the Countess from that taught Ulrika the Vampire how to be a vampire, but that very much limits who's left. Female vampires in a Black Library novel. Isabella had a model, so it can't be Isabella. Neferata had a model. What other female vampires in Black Library novels have there been?
The what was I going to say?
I think you nicked my
The
question.
last
there,
question
Will.
you asked based on Gotrek, Ben, I can't for sure say, but none of the sources I've got have.
No, it would
linked to it.
if it was the character I was thinking of, or one of the characters.
Oh.
So there is just briefly. There's a female vampire who appears in Vampire Slayer, appropriately named, and agrees to teach Ulrika the vampire how to be a vampire. And then, oh my god, I'm an idiot. Okay, so it's your question.
Can make suggestions.
Can I make a suggestion?
Of course.
Has she appeared in a Jack Yeovil novel?
Yes.
Oh, well, there we are. He's just answered my question. I suspect I
Just
know
do
who
that.
it might be.
My mime skills are amazing because that's 2 questions you've robbed off me now.
Sorry.
Sorry, I thought you were asking a genuine question there.
No, I was suggesting to Sai a question he might want to ask. But okay, you can ask the next question. Do you know who Jack Yeovil is, Sai?
No.
It's actually come up in a previous episode.
Also known as Kim Newman. Is she on the shelf behind him? She is on the
It
shelf
might jog
behind
your memory, Si, because we have spoken about it. Remember when we spoke about Black Libraries? Black Library novels and Ben's suggestion?
Vaguely, yeah. No, he's just shown me. I still can't think of it.
You won't probably know the name, Ben.
No, I don't.
Who you're trying to think
I
of.
don't know
but
the name.
yeah.
Okay, ask if she has ever appeared on the stage.
Has this character ever appeared on the stage?
Yes, she has.
I'm getting my hand
female,
held for this one.
We knew it was female because we'd established that. How many questions have we got
did.
left? Because we can get a bit silly now.
I'm
I think
taking
you're on
credit.
like
I suggested the
17.
male or female question.
As soon as
No,
I know
no,
you've got it,
females
I
alone.
tend to like,
Stop
Yeah.
acting.
yeah. But yeah,
How many questions have we had?
I think they're about 17, something like that. So you got
You
one
better
or two.
ask it, Ben, because
one or
I don't
two
know who
daft
it
ones.
is.
Okay, let me just-
Ben can
Is
probably
it?
ask one or two.
well, I'll just go for the guess.
Yeah, go on.
Is it, by any chance, a character who has never had a model, but should absolutely have a model
Yeah,
because
you're right.
she was alive at the time that Warhammer: The Old World is set? So I almost demand that at some point James Workshop
James
releases
Workshop,
a
He
you
might
got
model.
right
do.
correct the first time.
James Workshop should release a model of her. Is it, by any chance, Genevieve Duodone?
It is. Well done, Ben and Si. You both got there in the end. You helped narrow it down. I knew that Ben knew who the actual character was, so I'm fair nowadays with these. If it's not one that I don't think you really are not going to get, I won't do it. But
That was the hard one.
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah, well done, Jose. Great question.
Yeah.
You had me there. I had no idea.
yeah.
Ben carried me on that one.
I was going down a rabbit hole because I was completely focused on things like
I thought that.
It's partly as well because I'm currently listening to Manslayer on audiobooks on Audible, and that literally got Ulrika the vampire and her countess teacher in it. I'm like, okay, which other vampires have been in the books? Which other ones have been in there? Was there one? Did Neferata have a handmaiden that doesn't have a model? I was really thinking like down the rabbit hole.
I mean, I'd used up my knowledge of vampires by the time I'd asked about Neferata and the cat. So
This is my number one pick on my top 10 old world novels. It is.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, Si,
I'm gonna have to read that now.
absolute stonker. You can get it on the Black Library on Audible, on the ebook or on Audible. And actually, the one who does the Audible reading of it is really, really good as well.
I have to back that because I've just read up all the lore on her and pretty amazing actually. She's been on quite a lot of different adventures and different things, which is why I was worried she may have popped up in Gotrek, but it's not sourced. So
No,
I was.
she has not popped up in Gotrek to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
is referenced because Bill King was writing them at the same point in time that Jack Yeovil was writing, Kim Newman was writing the Genevieve series. I think purely kind of a good fun. Felix Jaeger occasionally casts aspersions on Genevieve's sometime boyfriend, the playwright Detlef Sierck. So he'll kind of go, "Oh, you're not going to turn my saga into some bawdy Detlef Sierck drama, are you?" So, at least I'm not a hack writer like Detlef Sierck, which is the playwright boyfriend of Genevieve Duodone.
But fantastic suggestion, Jose. I thought it was great because obviously, like I say, it had been brought up in one of the earlier episodes, so I thought it'd be a perfect one to bring back in for 20 questions.
I'm
for missing
defeated.
Enough attention.
But please do make sure, like Jose, guys, that you send in to my email, wargamingluke@gmail.com. Send in your character or unit from the Warhammer universe that you'd like us to bring up on Warhammer 20 Questions. Like Jose, let us know where you're from. Because I think that's all of the new people that we've had send in. So I've got backups from other people. People have sent in two each. So I've got people we can go back over now. But it's always great to have new people and new ideas on. So please do send yours in. That'd be great to have you and yours on, your suggestion on the podcast. But that is it for this week's episode, guys. So before we do finish up, obviously, as always, please do throw us a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Let your friends know about the podcast. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know about those video game ideas. That'd be great to hear from you guys. And of course, go and follow us over on Spotify as well. And jump into our Discord. Links are all in the description below the videos. Come and show off your miniatures and things like that and get involved in the conversation over there with us. But other than that, before we go, start with you, Si, since you're just underneath there, and I'll stop that screen now as well. Where can we find you, bud? What have you got going on?
Usual place, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube as Hobby Waffle. Blood Bowl Gnomes is the main one at the minute. No new video this week. It's still the Gnomes unboxing video is the latest one. A little bit of creator's block at the minute, so maybe we'll cover that in Mental Health Week. So I think I'm going to do a painting video on the Tree Man. I think that's going to be the next one. I did intend on doing it this weekend just past, but I didn't get a chance to film it, so that'll probably be the next few days or so, unless there's any groundbreaking news coming up on Warhammer community, perhaps Space Marine 2. I am working on something for that as well. That'll probably be the next video. But yeah, mainly Blood Bowl Gnomes, so I'll be posting them on Instagram, and then I'll drop the Sons of Velmorn on the Discord as well, so people can have a look at that, because I don't think I put them on there.
Awesome. And Ben?
You can find me on my channel, 90% Geek, and over on Twitter, Facebook, all the other kind of social sites. You can find me there with the same handle, Instagram as well. And as I mentioned earlier, this week I'm hoping if I can get it edited in time, fingers crossed, then there'll be the battle report video that I've been promising people for a while for Battlefleet Gothic. If there isn't time for that, then I'm sure I'll come up with something before Friday.
Awesome. I'm sure you will. Otherwise, guys, myself, as always, Wargaming Luke on social media, mostly active on Twitter nowadays, or X. So come join us over there and get involved in the chat. But otherwise, until next time, guys, it's been a pleasure. Episode 10, unbelievable. Onwards we go. But thanks, guys. Happy wargaming.
Cheers. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.